Hi, my name's Steve Dalton from Gold Coast TechSpace. I'm going to give you a rundown of a few of the different Arduino options that are available, including some of our own. So many of you will be familiar with the Arduino. Now this Arduino, this is one from Freetronics from my friend John Oxer down in Melbourne. It's based on the original Uno from the Italians. And basically these things connect via a USB cable from the Arduino to your PC. And the Arduinos, you can run your own code on these on their own, or you can have them run connected to the computer. So these are great. They come with a variety of shields. This is quite a complex one for doing NFC. So you can plug the thing together and you can turn your Arduino, if I get it the right way, turn your Arduino into an NFC reader. This is one from Adafruit. You can do things like put TFT screens on them. And they're very easy, plug and play. They're a bit big and clunky for the advanced users, but when you get started it's pretty good. You also get ones like these. This is the Flora, also from Adafruit. This is a wearable device. You see they've taken a different form factor here. This is designed mainly for being sewn into clothes and things like that. Now, one of the Arduinos which is of interest to me was this one called the Pro Mini. The Pro Mini, these are pretty good. They're very cheap. Nice thing about them is they don't actually come with a built-in USB, which you might think of as disadvantage, but actually once you get these things going you don't need the USB half the time. So actually having an external USB programmer is quite nice. And as a result these are very small. They can plug directly into a breadboard. So these just plug directly in like this. And then the programmer's on, connect to your computer, but then you can remove that when you don't need it. Now this is what actually drew us to designing our own Arduinos. We liked what was happening with Arduino, but we wanted to do something a little bit different. So we based our original design off the Pro Mini, and we came up with our own board called the GCDuino, and we've called it GCDuino because we were on the Gold Coast, and we love the Gold Coast. And you can see we've got our logo on the back there, and we made it yellow because it's like sand and sun, you know, all those things that the Gold Coast is well known for. So this is the GCDuino. And this was our start. Basically it wasn't too different from the Pro Mini, but it did have a few extra things, such as a couple of extra analog pins, and it also had the programmer actually plugs directly in. You don't actually need to have the extension cable. These pins are compatible with a standard programmer that you can get online. So those worked out quite nicely. They worked plugged straight into a breadboard, so the kids can basically just start taking their little wires like so and going straight from the Arduino pins to the devices they're going to plug in. And one of the reasons we quite like this is a lot of devices now that you're getting for use with Arduino don't actually come in the standard shield form factor, so you're going to be putting this thing into a breadboard anyway. So why not actually just have the Arduino go right into the breadboard? This, for instance, is a very low cost accelerometer and zero-G detector. Got a few others on here. I've got a RTC real-time clock, got some network devices, little MP3 player, and these are very cheap. So sometimes having this sort of shield form factor can be a little bit limiting. So from the GCDuino we moved on a little bit. We came up with a robot shield that the GCDuino could plug into directly. So we have this thing here called the Minimoto. The Minimoto just allows you to easily plug an Arduino into a robot base. These are a standard robot base that you can buy, and has a few motor driver sitting underneath here which allows us to drive these big motors, and having the breadboard on the top here makes it very easy to actually put your sensors on the top here and wire them in very easily. And it takes 4 AA batteries, but you could also run this on a LiPo battery to be mobile. This is the base board, but you could put pretty much anything you like on here. So from the GCDuino and the Minimoto, we found one of the things that we were really missing was something that could easily connect to networking devices. So we came up with this one, which is the GCDuino. The GCDuino runs on 3.3 volts instead of 5 volts. The reasoning behind this is a lot of the networking devices such as Ethernet ports, wireless mesh cards, Wi-Fi, all sorts of things like that generally do run 3.3 rather than 5.5 volts. So it's a form factor that works. And we also put some little connectors on the top here, which actually make it very easy to do Wi-Fi meshing. So this is a very popular Nordic Devices 2.4 gigahertz mesh chip, and this has a very inconvenient connector, if you can see there, for breadboarding. So that's pretty hard to put in a breadboard because you've got the channel down the middle, which is actually wider than the actual pins. So we put our own little connector on there, which allows us to very easily make a little mesh. Now, one of the other things we can put into here is Bluetooth. So we can also put a Bluetooth module. These are a very common Bluetooth module, and we can have our mesh as well if we want. It makes for a nice, very simple little board, which also is breadboard compatible, so it can sit in the middle of your breadboard like that, and you can network away to your heart's content. So finally, so this is a beta. Just to mention, this is a beta board for the GC Arduino. The actual ones, when we finish them, will be blue. This is an unpopulated one at the moment, and that's the blue one. So we're going to have blue, GC Arduino in yellow, GC Arduino in blue. Which brings us finally to this one, which you might have seen just lying here. This is the Mighty board. This is a bit niche. I'm not sure how many of these will sell, but this is the unpopulated board, and I have one here that's sitting on a breadboard. Now the Mighty board is based on the Atmega 1284 chip rather than the 328, which is what all the other ones are based on. Now the benefit we get from that is we get a lot more pins, I/O pins, and we get a lot more memory. The chip essentially runs at the same speed, but you get the advantage there of having more pins and more memory, which comes in very useful for some functions. Similar to the GC Arduino, then we have this connector here, so you can also mesh them as well. And we do have connectors for the Bluetooth and wireless and Wi-Fi as well. Now the Mighty board, I can get that off. So yeah, the Mighty board comes with a few extra things, such as reset buttons and things like that, which we removed off the smaller buttons, the smaller boards. But now we have a bigger board, we can actually put those back on. It actually spans over 2 breadboards here. You can see we've actually made it so these rails here connect into the 3.3 volt and the 5 volt line, so it's very convenient. And again, connects to the computer here via the USB. So we're not sure if we sell these or not. We do have one niche purpose for these boards, and that's to carry our version of the Lego Bricktronics Shield. And the reason why this is particularly good is that we get the number of I/O pins that we need to have the amount of sensors we need for Lego, without having to resort to going to the Mega, the big Atmega, which is quite expensive and probably a little bit overpowered for what we need. So these little Mighty boards are pretty good. We'll see how we go. So just to summarize, we have the Mighty, and working backwards, we have the Node for networking, and then we have the GC Arduino, which is a bog standard entry-level board, but also very good for robotics because it's 5 volts. If you have any more questions on any of these boards, you can contact me at steve@gctechspace.org, or if you're on the Gold Coast, you can come and visit us on Wednesday nights, which is our Arduino night, and I'm happy to talk about any of these boards or ideas for any new boards. We're keen to develop more things, and these things have gone through quite a few iterations, and with the help of our members, we're making them better every day. Thank you.